morning and welcome back to my channel. I was not going to film this episode and I just decided at the last minute I'm going to do it actually. I don't want to out my family members, but on the other hand, the reason I'm doing these videos, even though sometimes they get a bit negative, is because I'm processing all this stuff in my past and I'm moving on. I'm going to tell everything once, get it out of my system, put it on the record, and then I can let it go. It's sort of a psychological process. So I just thought, even if nobody watches my videos, just getting it out of my system, you know? So I had $673 that I had made, and it should have been enough, but when somebody tells you, I'll never help you, suddenly it dawns on you that you're all alone in the world. So my mind thought, this is not going to be enough to retire on. This is not going to be enough if I get sick. I have to make more money. I need more, like twice that much. So that's why I became, like, I kept trading options even though I didn't do that well. I was desperate to like build my fortune more because in LA, this sounds like a lot of money, but in LA that's lower middle class, I think. So the pressure was on me and I just didn't succeed like I did with the Tesla options. So moving on, there were reasons why I felt like I didn't get the support that I thought my brother could have given me, is because he was posting on Facebook, traveling all over the world. He's a successful businessman, and I thought maybe he could do a joint venture with me where we both invest in the real estate I had, 50-50. I pay him rent for his half, and we both appreciate our investment. He could put a deed against my house. I thought that was a good idea, but you know, I understand why people wouldn't want to do that and get tied up in that and be in the position of being the landlord of their sister. So the other thing this video is about is why I forgive my brother. I completely forgive him because he didn't know what was going on with me. I had been abused for 9 years in this relationship, emotionally abused, and I know that sounds like a catchphrase, but basically I was being controlled the whole time. I was being sleep deprived. I was being, my ex was demanding I write checks to him, and he was threatening my kids, and I was always on my toes, always trying to please him so that I wouldn't have him go crazy on me. He was a hacker, you know. There were a lot of reasons why I felt like he had power over my life. And one of the first things that people do when they're emotionally abusing someone or planning to physically abuse them, or not planning, but this personality type, this non-empathic, the personality type that doesn't care about others, it's only thinking of themselves because they don't have empathy. The first thing they do is they cut them off from their friends and relatives so that they have more control. It probably comes from insecurity, that they want to control their wife and not have, or girlfriend, and not have them leave them, not have them do anything against them. They feel threatened by any independence. So if people call, I wouldn't get messages like from friends. He would plant ideas in my head about some of my friends being after my money, which actually he was, but he made me think. He told me little things that weren't true. He tried to get my maid fired, who was Marcella, my best friend, who was supportive of me because she'd see things that, you know, she'd report back to me about what he did, and he didn't want to get caught, so he was trying to get rid of the maid and make me do everything in this mansion. Besides the efforts that this man did to cut me off from the rest of the world, and convince me that he was the only person I could rely on and the only person who was going to look out for my interests, you know, he probably fed me some lines about my family that poisoned my attitude toward them. I don't really remember. The worst thing was, I'm in an abusive relationship, and I started like finally realizing it, and then I started talking about it a little bit, and and when you talk about ways that your husband's doing things that aren't right, people start voicing their opinion back because they want to help you. So the common comment you get from your friends and family is, first of all, that's not right, he's a jerk, he's not as good as Martin, you know, why did you marry him? Like blame. then I feel bad. Or, why don't you just leave him? You know, you should get out. You shouldn't live there. You know, first of all, it's my house. I'm not giving it up. There's no way legally to get away from him unless I give up my house and move to a shelter. And I wanted him out, but as it got worse and worse, and they were saying, why don't you leave him? I was pretty much trapped because he had control of my finances. He had threatened my children. He had threatened taking them away from me. He had stood over me one day when I was drugged for pain for an injury and had demanded that I sign some papers signing over rights to him of different things as if they were community property. He had taken so much money I felt like I couldn't support myself without him, but yet he wasn't contributing anything the entire 9 years of marriage because he was setting himself up to be supported by me. I didn't understand the rules of divorce. I thought that would be in my favor, you know, that he never put any money in, so it should all be mine. Well, it actually works the opposite in divorce in LA. If the spouse never puts any money in, you've established a pattern of supporting them, so you have to continue that for the rest of your life. So I didn't have a divorce coach, you know. But the main thing is, I'm starting to get feedback from my brother and his wife. You should leave this guy. Well, that's good advice, but they don't understand the full picture. I don't talk to them enough to give them the full picture. And then the worst thing is, now I feel shame and I can't leave them, and I keep getting this advice, you should leave him, and I can't do it. So I'm disappointing them. So I pretty much gloss it over and say, oh, I'm in a great relationship. Everything's fine now. He stopped drinking. It's all good, you know, because I don't want that conflict anymore every time I talk to my family. So then I keep them in the dark. And this is a common pattern with people in abusive relationships. So my brother had no clue really my whole backstory. And it's my doing. So there's that. I just thought, you know, if I was ever homeless, he'd be there for me, or if I was ever like desperate. So I was getting desperate. So I thought, you know, he probably didn't really mean that. That was probably just a comment. I finally accepted that I was spending too much time maintaining the house, too much energy. I contacted my brother one more time and asked him for money, saying, you know, this is a commitment I'm making. I'm selling the house, but I need to be able to prepare it because it's the difference of, you know, the listing price on Zillow right now and a way lower listing price. I'm going to have to sell it in a hurry if, and subpar, you know, asking price if I can't get it all cleaned up and beautiful. So I estimated the amount it would take. And I called him and asked him, and he said no. He said, I'll help you with your budget. I'd already done all this budgeting work. I was a forensic accountant. I had kept spreadsheets for 10 years. I knew exactly where I was financially. And for him to say, and I'm a grown woman, and for him to say, I'll help you with your budgeting, and I knew he had already said, I'll never give you a dime. I knew that I was just going to get reprimanded, you know, telling me what to do when it's clear what I need to do, and he wasn't going to give me any money in the end anyway. Why would I want to put myself through that psychologically, that demeaning process? So I just said, fine, never mind. And I figured I'd take the hit on the house. I tried to think of creative ways to finance it. So I found a realtor who was just an angel, and she actually was able to lend me the money off the back end. And she helped me hire a floor guy, she helped me hire a stone guy, she helped me with a landscaper, they bought plants, she had a cleaning lady. We're struggling to get this house in order and lifting these boxes and moving things, and I had to get a storage place, and I didn't have any cash for that, and the realtor wasn't going to lend me for that. So I was finding things and selling them. And remember I said I felt like I had a magical house. It's like every time I needed like $500 for a storage place, you know, savings bond would float down from the top shelf, or I'd find jewelry on the floor which nobody recognized, or I found that bag of gold coins, you know. So I just bit by bit got through it. So I was really desperate for money at this point. My house was listed, my real estate agent had put in all this money. She was done lending me money. And our house was empty. We had sold everything we had found. And I was exhausted. And I was having symptoms from my heart. And we didn't have any money for groceries. And I had to move the last things into storage, and I didn't have a storage place, and I needed cash. So I was so desperate, I posted on Facebook a description of what was going on and pleading, can someone out there lend me money? I have offers, this house will close in 10 days. I will get cash at that point. I will pay you back. I will give you 10% interest. And immediately, one of my friends from Boy Scouts came forward. Somebody I hadn't talked to in years came forward and said, call me. It was a miracle. This person was so generous. And she said, don't worry, just pass the karma on to the next person. You know, it was such a beautiful thing for someone to do for me. And then my brother posted and he said, I offered to help you. And I was just really upset. But I tried to refrain from getting crazy because this is Facebook, everybody could see it. So I just said, no, you did not offer to help me. I'm a grown woman, a forensic accountant, offering me budget advice when everything is already settled. I'm already selling my house. I just needed cash flow is insulting. Well, the next thing I know is I go off and we have dinner and we come back, and I just checked Facebook again to see what he had to say about that. And he wasn't my friend anymore. The comment was gone. And I searched and I couldn't even find him on Facebook. I was going to send him a message because this is how we usually communicated. I was going to send him a message and ask him, why did you unfriend me on Facebook? And he was invisible to me, and I realized he had blocked me. So I was like astounded, you know, that he would block me over that. So I thought, well, I'll just ask his daughters, you know, why did he do this? Because that's a really extreme reaction. So I go to contact his daughters on Facebook, and they've blocked me, all three of them, and his wife. And it's like, I'm cut off from the family for saying, no, you didn't offer to lend me money. One thing I learned in therapy is you have to be honest with yourself. You cannot lose reality. Like, if people rewrite history, you gotta call them on it. I mean, in your own head at least. In the end, this was a good thing for me, a very good thing for me, because realizing my brother had no clue who I was, I decided I needed to express myself. My whole life, I wrote every night for hours until I married that guy, and he would sabotage my writing efforts because he didn't want word to get out that he was abusing me. So he just kept harassing me every time I tried to write, and I ended up with this huge writer's block. I couldn't write yet. So I thought this series of videos would help me get over the past, express myself, and kind of warm up for writing. And I will be writing. I can feel that I'm already starting to feel the relief, because anything I'm telling to this set of videos, it's off my chest for good. I'm not going to revisit it. And so that's why I felt I had to tell this story. Even though I wasn't going to out my brother, if I skipped this, I would still hold it inside. So I kind of just had to let it out and tell the story. He's a good man. He's a smart man. And he'll always think of me as his little sister. And I'm an adult now, just FYI. But anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully one day I'll be reunited with my brother.